I wouldn't be like, oh, I just ate and so I want to burn that off. Think of food and nutrition as fuel. So if you feel like you are not performing well in a workout, then it's all about experimentation. So I would recommend that you experiment with having something to eat and then see how your energy levels respond. Or maybe it makes you want to throw up. And so you're like, okay, I gotta dial that back a little bit. Yeah. If I had to recommend though, if I was gonna say yes, eat before your workout, I would recommend at least try it 2 hours before. Have some time to digest that, absorb that energy, and then see how you feel. Yeah, great question. So also, the reason we feel so good when we have carbohydrates is that glucose, blood sugar, is the #1 fuel for your brain. Okay, that's what your brain's using to function. Okay, so carbs make us feel great as far as using our bodies, our muscles, and it keeps our mind sharp, right? Oh, I like this piece because the higher the intensity that you work out, the more your body is going to use that glucose and glycogen. Okay, so when you think about CrossFit, high intensity, compared to just like going out for a casual jog or walk or some very light weight training, when you're doing CrossFit, you're using significantly more loads of glucose and glycogen at that higher intensity. So what that really means is that you should probably have some carbs after you've done class, okay? So something to help you kind of replace that energy that you just used for your workout. Okay? All right. So, also, they're delicious. We love carbs, right? I love carbs. I'm a very carb dominant person, so I love carbs. But I thought carbs were bad for you, right? Who's heard that? Who's heard carbs are bad, carbs are horrible, don't eat carbs, right? There's all those diets, there's keto diets, right? Like don't eat carbs, okay? Not all carbs are created equal, okay? So when we look at CrossFit's nutrition plan of no sugar, we're talking about added sugar. So we're obviously gonna get carbohydrates from our fruits, vegetables, and starches, but we're really referring to added sugar. So that's where we say not all carbs are created equal. Okay, added sugars, table sugar, there's like 50 or 60 names for added sugars, guys. You gotta pay attention to some of that stuff, right? So you got sugar, high fructose corn syrup, agave nectar, evaporated cane juice, okay? If you want, I can send you a list. There's like 54 different names for added sugars, okay? So start to think about those things when you're looking at your nutrition and your food labels.
What about honey?
Yes, that would be an added sugar. Yep. Try to reduce or eliminate refined carbohydrates. So some easy things, right? Sodas, okay? It's just sugar, right? Cakes, cookies, and pastries, okay? So you'll notice I said try to reduce first before I said or eliminate, okay? Think of it as a 90-10 rule, okay? We're all humans, we want to enjoy life, okay? I would say 90% of the time your carbohydrates should come from sources like vegetables, fruits, and starches. And then 10% of the time, have at it. Enjoy life. Have a donut, have a piece of cake, enjoy those pieces, right? It's all about moderation and consistency. So, or maybe you don't, I don't know. I personally don't have a sweet tooth, so I'm a little more on the savory side, but you know, once in a while, if I want a donut and I've been eating pretty well, then you have a donut. Enjoy life, guys. Okay, one last thing on carbohydrates. Be careful with like condiments, right? Like barbecue sauces, salad dressings, and then those super processed foods like cereals, canned fruits, packaged meats, okay? I don't know if you guys have ever looked at a food label for packaged meats, like honey turkey, oven roasted brown sugar turkey, like bunch of added sugars in those, okay? So we're thinking, oh, it's protein, it's good for me, but it's probably got a lot of added sugar. Okay. So when we look at CrossFit's definition for nutrition, nuts and seeds, that's just a catch-all. I mean, those are probably, that's like your one of your primary sources of fats, but it's just a catch-all phrase for all fats. So, fats come in a variety of forms, right? So we have one of the most commonly consumed, you guys probably had some this morning in those little packages. Almonds, cashews, nuts, seeds, pumpkin seeds, sesame, sunflower seeds. Okay? One of your most common fats that are quick and easy. Avocados, right? Who here likes avocados? Yeah, really good for you. Good fats. Eat more avocados. Okay? Use avocado oil. Instead of that canola oil or vegetable oil, switch to an avocado oil. Okay, it's much better for you. Okay, we talked on this one. We talked about protein earlier. Animal fats are going to have your protein sources are going to have some fat in them as well. Okay, that'll be a portion of your daily fats. And then other things like butter. Who likes butter? I love butter, right? That's one of those ones you got to be careful about. So butter and then other oils like olive oil, coconut oil, and walnut. Okay. So why do we need fats? Question.
Was that last line like bad things to avoid?
No,
or those are good
fats. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I think it's the moderation.
Yeah.
I could butter some toast.
So that's a good question. That leads us into like why do we need fats? Because that's another misconception that some of us may have. I've always kind of had that misconception, like, why should I eat fats? I don't want to be fat, so why would I eat fats? Like, why do we need fats? I'll just eat all the carbs and protein. So, there is a reason that we need fats, okay? So, similar to protein, carbs, fats play a vital role in everyday bodily function, okay? We need them, that's the reality, okay? So, fats store energy, they insulate our body, and they protect our internal organs, okay? Fats also act as a messenger. So a lot of things that they do to help proteins do their job, okay, on a molecular level. Same thing, chemical reactions. They help with things like growth, immune function, reproduction, and other aspects of basic metabolism. Okay. One of the biggest things about fats is they help transport fat-soluble vitamins, vitamins A, D, E, and K. And those are stored like in your liver and other fatty tissues. Okay? So if you're getting foods high in those vitamins, you need fats to be able to absorb them and use them. Omega-3 fatty acids are great for cardiovascular health. Also, they are delicious. Right? So, but again, these are the things that you got to be careful with. Fats are often invisible. So think about like if you're cooking with butter, right? Or if you're cooking with olive oil, like those things can be really easy to overdo. You like mayo, things like that. Even nuts, like 1/4 cup of nuts is a lot of calories and fats, so you just gotta be careful with your fats. It's the biggest recommendation. Okay?
And protein.
All right, guys, quantity. So we've covered the basics, some CrossFit theory, we talked quality, we know what macros are, so let's talk about quantity. So, consume real foods in quantities that support exercise but not body fat, okay? So, that's another thing where if you've done an in-body scan this last week and you have that, and I've talked to you a little bit about your basal metabolic rate, that is the amount of calories that your body is going to use to function, right? So it's not factoring in your cardio, your weight training, you're taking the dog for a walk, you have a physical job and you're on your feet getting 20,000 steps a day, okay? So, when we say supports exercise but not body fat, we have to look at some of those lifestyle factors, like how active am I? How many calories do I need to be alive? How many calories do I need for my activities? And then do I want a surplus or a deficit, okay? So those are some of the things that we kind of dive into in nutrition coaching. Again, going back to protein, if you want to make it easy, start with your protein and then build your quantities around that. Okay? And then obviously you need to factor in your body composition, your goals, and your activity level. Okay, one of the most basic macro distributions and highly recommended is a distribution of 40% of your calories from carbohydrates, 30 from fats and protein, okay? Pretty straightforward and basic. And you guys have a worksheet in your packet, and I'm gonna give you guys all time to do a very simple calculation for a place you might start with monitoring your macros. Okay. So again, going back to protein, most adults should eat 0.8 to 1.2 grams of protein per pound of body weight. Your activity level will drive this as well. Okay. And then let's talk about when we eat. Okay. My recommendation would be like trying to consume your food in a 12-hour period and having 3 to 5 meals per day. So if my first meal is at 7 a.m., ideally I would want my last meal to be at 7 p.m. or within that 12-hour window. Okay. So for me personally, I do breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Between breakfast and lunch, I have a pretty hearty snack, and between lunch and dinner, I have a pretty hearty snack. So 3 bigger meals with 2 pretty hearty snacks, and that's how I've found success in staying on track with my macros and my nutrition. Now, everything with nutrition is kind of an experiment, guys. So you'll have to experiment with what's your window, but also factoring in like, what is my lifestyle? Do I work graveyard shift, a mid shift? You know, some of those things are gonna factor into when you're eating. Okay? So this brings us to the next point. You need data, okay? So if you are going to clean up or make strides towards nutrition, you need to have some data, okay? You need inputs, which are things like food tracking and weighing and measuring your foods, okay? And then you need outputs so that we can monitor results. So if you did an in-body scan this week, you have a great baseline output, which would be muscle mass and body fat percentage. Okay, quantity test. So, real quickly, I have some foods here. You're gonna use your whiteboard. I'm gonna tell you what you're gonna do it in, and then, so first off, write down on your whiteboard, how much chicken is this?
Ounces. I only know grams.
In ounces.
36. It's 36. Can we answer in metric?
I don't know grams.
My answer.
Yeah, this is chicken. Can you see this?
Are we telling you?
In ounces, yeah. Write it on your whiteboard and hold it up.
I don't know ounces though.
I will do the calculation.
What is everybody saying? 6,
I love it.
8?
All right, guys, take a look around at your neighbors. Okay, there's a lot of numbers out there, which tells me that we could do some work on weighing and measuring and quantity. So, this is 8 ounces of chicken. So, you either thought it was way more or you thought it was way less, which either way, the quantity. So, Ashwin had 8. Did you have 8? We just talked about this yesterday, Brad. Though, so.
Oh, Brad's a cheater. That's a cheater, Brad.
Okay. Next. Okay, so I ended up combining the rice and the pistachios. So this is, how much rice is this?
Is it a round amount?
Oh, this is grams. Grams are cups.
Oh,
It's cooked.
Right. I don't know pistachios.
For a cup.
It's cooked.
big ass cup.
I don't know, that pistachio is a lot. That's like a quarter cup.
Okay.
Quarter cup for the nuts.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, well, you're going to do the nuts next.
Oh,
It's
okay.
1.25 cups.
What?
So it's
I have to do 1.5
175 grams.
Oh,
It's how much rice?
1.25 or a cup and a quarter.
This is cooked rice.
I eat 160 grams. All in it.
It's about 220 calories.
Okay, next. Broccoli. How much broccoli is this?
Not enough.
Doesn't count I don't measure my veggies.
That's like normally cut.
It's like a cup. Not confident.
You guys need to get on the same page about your veggies.
Brad, what's the answer? Who's your cheater?
Right in the middle. 1.5. 1.5.
I was close enough.
Yeah, a lot of you guys got that. That's good. That's good.
I got it. I got it too, but I erased it.
Good job.
Let's do the rack.
Oh, I don't know. I just bought
I had
it.
2 racks. I got one there. I don't know where the other one was. They were. Yeah. We stuck together.
Okay, because we need to include fats, so the pistachios that are with the rice.
Quarter cup. Quarter cup. Ooh, that might be a half. About 12.
I'm on the dot here.
Pistachios. So in this meal, well, hold on, let's go there. Let me see your whiteboards again. Welcome back, Parker. 12. Okay, so it's about 1/3 cup. It's 40 grams. Okay. When I weigh and measure nuts and seeds, I go with grams, guys. So that's one thing you got to be careful about, because if you look at packages for nuts and seeds, it'll say about 1/4 cup. Okay. So if you have a food scale, I encourage you to take 1/4 cup of nuts and then go weigh it. It's going to be way more than what it says 1 serving is. Okay. So it's usually off anywhere 5 to 6 grams. Okay. All right. So chicken is what macro for this meal?
Protein.
Protein, right? Broccoli and rice.
Carb.
And this
Fiber.
one's-
It has protein in it too.
Yeah. So this is your more fibrous, right? Your rice is your starch, and the nuts are what?
Fat.
Fats. Okay.
Peanut butter isn't a protein.
Yes. Peanut butter is not a protein. It's a fat, guys.
Good looks. Good looks. Shell, why are you breaking hearts over here?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
again, going back to our definition on macronutrients, like most foods are gonna have more than one. Nuts are one of the ones that are pretty close as far as like carbs to fats. No, carbs to protein, but the dominant one is fats. So, last one. This will be fun. How many calories is this meal? Just guess. Best guess.
400.
400. Just shout it out.
700.
650.
50.
Price is right. Come on down. 651.
456. I love how specific you guys are getting. 520. 476. Okay, good. I was hoping you guys would go way over. You guys are mostly under, but that's okay. It's about 750 calories.
Oh, pistachios. Pistachio.
Okay, thoughts on quantity, okay? Do you feel like you have a good gauge on quantities overall, now that we've done a little experiment?
I feel like I need to measure more in my life. But eyeball everything.
Yeah. So, the big one, guys, the biggest one in this experiment was your proteins, okay? You probably think you're getting more protein than you actually are, okay? Remember, this is 8 ounces of, where's my phone?
I have it.
I have the macros on my phone. I think this is about 46 grams of protein in this
In chicken?
Chicken. Okay?
I'll check it.
So I used to eat probably about half the amount of chicken of this in every one of my meals, and I would say to Michelle, I don't know why I'm not building muscle. I'm eating all the protein that I need to eat. I wasn't. Okay, so think about that. Think about weighing and measuring. Okay, so those are some of the things we need to do to put it into practice. Okay, come up with how much you need to eat. I gave you an activity level sheet. It's the second page in your pamphlet. It's really simple. You look at the activity level. You have 0.8, which means you have a sedentary lifestyle, all the way up to 1.2, which means you're an athlete and you're training more than 7 hours a week. You use that number to calculate your amount of protein grams, okay? It's all right in there.
If they don't have the sheet, can you?
Who doesn't have a sheet?
Can you take the whiteboard and maybe look at like Mo's and just write them
Okay,
in?
so first step, find your activity level. There is 4 activity levels.
Do you like Patrick?
No,
Or do
that
you
you're
not
currently
like
at.
Patrick?
I like Patrick.
Okay.
That's why he's got muscles.
Oh,
That's why he got
I thought
muscles.
those were his man boobs. They're
I like how like super detailed face and then just like.
Patrick looks angry. He looks like an angry ginger guy.
He's really strong. He's really, really strong.
Okay, once you have your protein, you take that and you multiply by 1.33, I believe, to get your carbohydrates. Anybody want some chicken?
We only have one. We only have one.
What are you doing over
That's why I
there,
never worry.
Did you bring a baby today? Is this what they're talking about? No baby today. No, you're the baby today, yeah?
Yes.
Move.
And that's why I'm like,
I would say probably this because you're in school. And although you run around the place, you don't necessarily have water. Extracurriculars, you're not working. But this could be
What do I do here?
These are the
so
Barber brothers.
math, body weight.
One's the bartender manager. That's all.
right, guys, so you have your in-body scan too,
Yeah,
then you
yeah.
got to start to factor in what is your metabolic rate. This is factoring in partly that activity level,
At least the
but one
compo's
thing that
spread
this is
out.
absolutely not doing is factoring in your goals, okay? So this is just to give you an idea on how to calculate macros. So we have a few minutes left. I do like to stay on my timeline. If you've ever been to my class, you know that. So I'm gonna just speed through some of this next piece, but this is really where you get into actually putting this stuff into practice. So my recommendation, download a food tracking app on your phone, such as Macros First. That's what I use, and I have my clients use. It's pretty user-friendly. Okay? Get your kitchen ready, okay? If you don't cook at home currently, there's some things you need. This seems pretty basic, but some of us just don't cook at home very often. So have things like pots, pans, a food scale, measuring cups, measuring spoons, baking sheets, good quality knives, and storage containers. Question?
You have a
What do I do?
I always weigh it cooked. Yeah,
same thing.
yeah. Michelle, do you have a best practice on that?
For what? I didn't hear the
Weighing
question.
protein cooked or pre-cooked?
It doesn't matter. Just make sure your food tracker differentiates which one it is.
Okay, so there should be like raw versus cooked if you're food tracking.
I will just say, so if you think about cooking, when you weigh it, if you're cooking like chicken, the water is being removed from it. If you're cooking pasta, you're adding water.
Yeah.
So you just want to make sure you're consistent with either uncooked or raw. Yeah, so just grill it and then weigh it.
Yeah, I would wait
That'd
after
be
you cook
easier.
it.
So like, don't show me calories.
Okay, guys. So a really basic place you can start, even if you're not looking to deep dive into nutrition. Consider doing a kitchen clean out of some of those highly processed foods that have a lot of added sugars. Okay, that's one really simple thing that you can do to kind of start to improve the quality of your nutrition. Okay. Grocery shopping. Make a plan, guys. Don't just go to the store and just wing it. Okay. Because I've done that for a long time and it doesn't go so well. So have a plan, write down what you need, what you're planning to cook, what is on your meal prep menu. Stick to the perimeter, right? Don't go down those aisles of temptation.
So I have it set up so I
Yes.
have 4 calories.
Shop for the basics, guys. Lean meats, fruits, vegetables, some complex carbs, and high quality fats. This is huge. Do not shop hungry. Okay? Have a decent meal or be like on a fuller stomach when you go shopping. Because I promise if you go hungry, you will buy all the junk food.
Yep, every single time.
Okay, another big one you can do that really doesn't take much effort. Start practice mindful eating, okay? So this is something I've really worked on. It's like slowing down my eating. I'm trying to eat more than I ever have. The only way to do that is to slow it down, okay? Sometimes it takes me a half hour to eat my dinner because I'm just really being thoughtful, chewing on my food, taking the time to eat it, okay? Rather than being in that rush and trying to like scarf it down in 5 minutes and then feeling bloated and sick, right? So, chew all your food, savor your meals. Nutrition is positive. So, enjoy the flavors and the experience of nourishing your body. You should have a healthy relationship with food. Remove distractions. So try to just sit down and have a meal without being on your phone or watching TV. Start meal prepping. Okay? Prepare meals that are easy to grab and go, especially for lunch. So when you're out, if you're working your job, right, and you have something in the fridge you can just grab and take with you, it's all about convenience, right? If you're not meal prepping, you're probably eating out. Weigh and measure. Okay, healthy snacks. Put them in Ziploc bags. They're easy to grab and go. As far as meal prep, you can do like one big meal prep, like say on a Sunday night, but you also have some meats and veggies and stuff ready to go. So like Wednesday, I'm sick of what I've been eating and I'm just gonna spice it up a little bit. You have some things, some items ready to go so you can switch it up. Okay, but have somewhere you know that you can go get a friendly macro meal, okay? So if you are at work or if you're at home and you just decide, I don't want to cook, I don't want to eat the meal prep, my coworkers want to go out for lunch, I'm going to recommend this place because I know I got something I can eat there that's healthy, relatively healthy, good macros. So know the menu of places close to you, okay?
What are your go-to restaurants?
I don't know. I mostly eat prepared meals that I make. No, when I'm gonna go out and just have some fast casual food, this is an ongoing joke in the gym for us coaches, Panda Express, okay? Wow. So, it obviously is going to be some processed food there, but there are some healthier options. Okay? You can get white or brown steamed rice. Then you stay away from the chow mein because it's oily. Okay, so you can get some white rice and teriyaki chicken. Like, it's pretty whole foods there. So, really when I eat out, I save my eating out for pizza. Yeah, that's my go-to eating out thing. All right, guys. So that's all the basics. I've already given you some numbers. We have a lot of data. So, nutrition coaching. How will it help? Okay, so you already learned a lot of the basics. You maybe already know some. You can go out and do your own research. You have some numbers. So what makes nutrition coaching different? Okay, there's 3 things. Customization. Those worksheets did not factor in your goals, your lifestyle choices, what you like to eat, okay? It's just a very basic number. Support, okay? It's a lot more powerful when you have someone to support this journey, okay? And the biggest thing, the reason most of us probably come to CrossFit to start with, accountability, okay? So you have that accountability, you have someone supporting you, and those are some of the things that make us successful, right? That's why fad diets are fad diets and why specialization diets work in the short term, because you often lose motivation. You see some results, but you don't have anyone that's helping support you, customizing, and having accountability. Okay? All right, guys, that's all I have as far as my presentation. Thank you. If you need to take off, it is 11:34. I did go over. So thank you again, guys. Coaching, adding nutrition coaching. It's really, truly an honor and a privilege to be a part of your lives. So I see this as, again, a privilege. I never take that for granted that you've entrusted your fitness and health with us. I love you guys. You're amazing. Thank you. Oh, and if you want to stick around for a Q&A. Oh, yes. So, the last sheet in your packet talks about some of the packages that I offer as far as the nutrition coaching. So you have a Kickstarter. The biggest thing there, a little bit more on that personal investment, but you get a lot more face time. We get to sit down about 45 minutes once a week. so we can really dive in. If you do a kickstart and you want to continue on, or you have some ideas and you're okay with a more virtual quick check-in, that's your monthly coaching. And then I offer single sessions as well, so we can do like a goal setting and look at numbers.
Lindsay's the plan.
I really like it.
Yeah.
I like that I can text Patrick at like 10 o'clock at night, like, hey, I'm 40 carbs short. Which
Yeah.
Whiskey.
So yeah, Brad is. When I started nutrition coaching, or I did the course, and I wanted to dive into it. I obviously was patient zero, like experimenting on myself, and I've seen a lot of great progress. And then Brad is someone that I've always been close to, and helped him on ramp and seen his journey. And so I approached him and like, hey, let's try this out. And he was like, let's do it. Brad, if you don't mind sharing, how many grams of protein were you eating on a daily basis when we started?
So, like 60 to 80 grams of protein.
Yeah.
And it was through like protein shakes.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, which isn't uncommon. Yeah, when we started, I think it was like, some days were like as low as 50 grams of protein. And how many grams of protein are you up to now?
170, 180.
170, 180. And how do you feel with those? Like, do you feel full? Like, how are you feeling energy-wise?
Yeah, I feel a lot better. I said, I don't barely need protein shakes anymore because I just don't feel anymore.
Yeah.
I don't really need energy drinks as much as I used to before. Stuff like that, so I feel a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a lot of things that go into this, guys. I didn't even talk about supplements like protein powders and vitamins. So there's a lot more to cover. So let me know if you want to talk. Okay, and Q&A, questions, Michelle.
How do you track alcohol?
Oh, how do you track alcohol? That's another thing I specifically didn't bring up, but we could talk about one-on-one. So, alcohol, great question. Alcohol, in its essence, is empty calories, right? There's no actual macronutrient value to alcohol, but if you are going to consume alcohol, we need to account for those calories. So, what we can do is either attribute them to your carbohydrates, or to your fats, or both, okay? For Brad, we've experimented a little bit of putting it more towards his fats so that we could get him eating more carbs for energy. So that's a customization that we can talk about as far as tracking your alcohol consumption. Yeah, great question, Michelle. Any others?
I'm leaving for
Tell me what differences you noticed in yourself once you really dialed in your nutrition.
Yes.
What
Bless
did you
you.
notice?
So for me personally, again, I think I was severely under eating for what my goals were and where I wanted to be. So once I started to weigh and track and implement that nutrition, my energy levels have been, I would say, almost double. My word capacity, again, what is fitness? Word capacity has increased tremendously. I feel like I can work out harder and for longer. One important part as far as implementing a nutrition is to set a benchmark. Again, the body fat and muscle mass on the in-body scan is a great benchmark. For me, it's been how much heavier can I lift? And in the last 6 weeks, I think I've PR'd almost every one of my lifts by substantial amounts. So I've definitely gotten stronger. So I feel stronger, I have better energy, I'm sleeping better, I have good gut health, like I don't feel like heavy or bloated or anything like that. So one thing I will say is that consuming more protein than I ever have, I do feel like my metabolism has sped up significantly. So it's kind of like a catching up for me personally, so that I'm still continuing to experiment and eat more to get to that point where ultimately I can build more muscle. That's my goal. Sarah.
Does your nutrition coaching take into account any health conditions you have and other like things you should be considering while thinking of your nutrition?
Yes and no. I would say if it's very specific or a health condition, I would always defer to your physician for like those recommendations. But if it's like a tolerance type of thing, I think that that's something that we could work together on and get creative on other sources to hit those macros if it's a tolerance type of thing.
eating, even though we are not really hungry, just to eat the protein requirement.
Sorry, say that again.
Is it recommended to eat even though we are not really hungry to eat the
No, the monster does. Well, Patrick down here, he's bald like my old man.
Yes and no.
He's got moose.
So that comes down to motivation. How important is the goal to you? I would recommend do not force feed yourself. If you're not feeling it, just don't force it. Okay. That's one thing that I've worked with Brad of, like, we never want to force anything. So oftentimes if you're feeling that, it's because we haven't gone through a loading phase of gradually increasing the amount of food that you're consuming and protein you're consuming. So if you go from I'm eating 1,200 calories and 50 grams of protein a day to trying to eat 3,000 calories and 175, it's not going to happen like that. So there's a ramp up loading phase. So if we do it the right way, you should always feel like you want to eat and you're not forcing it. That's important. Good question. Parker,
What do you eat for breakfast?
what do I eat for breakfast? Okay, so I have 100 grams of oats, 16 grams of protein powder, 300 milliliters of almond milk, and 70 grams of granola every morning, which accounts for about 800 calories. So I have found something that works for me. I've basically boiled it down to a science, and that's what I pretty much religiously eat every morning, because I need a lot of carbs to hit my numbers, and so I need a huge head start on carbs to start the day. I get about 90 grams of carbs from that breakfast. Cool. All right, guys. Thank you. Let me know if you want to chat a little more one-on-one.